Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Ronline Report. You know this man, today's guest, all the way from Houston, Texas area, Patrick, the Future Moore. Patrick, how's that nickname treating you, sir? The Future.
I gotta say I'm living up to the hype. I believe to the best of my ability. I think I have a bright future in this sport, and I think it kind of caught on at the Olympia, and people were just like, "They this is the direction they want to see the sport go," and I'm pretty happy to be at the forefront with that. I guess that movement of people wanting the sport to go a certain direction, and
Right.
I'll take it. I was always just going to be Patrick Moore, so whatever someone landed that name on me, you did, and I was like,
Well,
hey, okay, I'll stick with
I
that.
mean, I can't really think of anybody else that really deserves that nickname more at this point, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah,
So we are now 27 days out from the Arnold Classic as we speak. We're doing this interview on a Sunday. Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate you doing that with me.
yes, sir.
And today you posted up what you said will be your final progress pictures. You're not going to post anymore. What's up
No,
with that?
it's just one of those deals, man, where I never have been the type of person to work out just to post, pictures on the internet. And I know some guys because it can be distracting. So what
Mhm.
I was doing all through this prep, where people were seeing those progress pictures, they were first thing in the morning. They would be late. They wouldn't be around training time, and so I don't want to really get to the point where I'm more focused on social media and trying to keep people like with current progress because people are interested. They want to know how you're looking, how much you're weighing, all this different stuff, so they follow along.
Yeah.
But for me, being the athlete, I do want to have an element of surprise, like because we change a lot from week 4 till showtime. We change a
Right.
lot the last week. So where people, you'll get the people that he needs more time. His condition isn't this, and the trolls.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, this is where we're at 4 weeks out for everyone who follows because it benefits me as well being a personal trainer because when I have clients and guys that compete, they can measure their progress based on kind of how they see my pictures. May not
Yeah.
be the same, but okay, well, 4 weeks out, Patrick was kind of looking like this.
Yeah.
So, if they're hoping to follow that path, it gives them, a good reference point.
Right.
So I just wanted to focus more on the training, and everyone's been super supportive. I like sharing my journey with everybody
Yeah.
because I'm new to this, they're new to me, so it's like this is all new to everybody that's around what I'm trying to do, and I just figured let me leave something on the table for the actual show day, and
Good.
I know
Good.
that's an old school thing. The guys back then they couldn't post progress pictures,
Nope.
so if I want to focus on my training, when I get in the gym, I made a habit of putting my phone down. I don't keep it on me while I train. My
What?
wife will try to get a hold of me. Yeah,
Oh
she'll try
no.
to get a hold of me, and I leave it there. I'll answer when I get done because any minute that I take off of the concentration is gonna throw it off. I
Right.
believe in putting myself into every set because especially when you get closer, it's kind of like you only have so much energy to really pound it, and before you know it, you pick up your phone, you respond to one text or one DM or one comment, and the next thing you know, you're in this
Mm-hmm.
frenzy. So, and
Yeah.
then your mind's not on what you were doing. So, it's been real beneficial to just put the phone down. And like I said, I am completely grateful for everyone supporting up to this point. But this is just a time where I need to really hunker down and get on my job.
Absolutely, man. I mean, I'm envious of you. I wish I could leave my phone in the locker room when I trained. I wish, but there's people who need to get a hold of me. But that's, you're doing it. I wish more people had that attitude
Yeah.
because I don't think you can really keep your concentration going if you're constantly answering text messages and private messages and
Hmm.
checking this and that. It's just so distracting.
It's
But
very much.
the pictures you posted today, you look bigger to me already, noticeably bigger than you were at the Olympia. Is that accurate?
It's very accurate. It's we made some great progress, and the thing is we took the time. Me and you we had this conversation about me improving from
Yeah.
show to show. So what I did was in the interim, there wasn't. I don't think any of us athletes had a real off season that we're just on the Olympia stage, and that's over half of this lineup.
Right.
So I took the time to really only put all of my focus energy into where I wanted to improve at. So those, I think that's what makes the picture stand out a little bit more
Mm,
versus the Olympia prep is because I'm so much improved in those particular areas.
right.
And you learn more. This is only 2 years me and Chris have been together.
Yeah.
and he's learning more about my body, and I'm learning more, and then I'm more in tune with the training as to what works better. So I kind of took a reset approach as to how I was training. So remember I talked to you last time, and we were saying the 20 reps training and all these other things.
Yeah.
I went more towards the heavier compound movement for this
Yeah.
entire prep.
Hmm.
So the weight was heavier, and the movements like squats, stiff leg deadlifts, rack pulls, those things became a staple.
Hmm.
So it pretty much promoted some overall growth all around. And so
Yeah.
I'm definitely, I sent him to Chris, and he was like, "You're much more dense," and I felt it. I mean, I knew it going in. I'm a lot more full. We found a way to start to get more condition, and
Hmm.
of course, Phil has something to do with this too. He was giving me some tips while I was there,
We'll get to
but
Phil Heath. Don't worry.
yeah, and so we kind of found a good mix to get conditioned while, because that's my deal. What we're finding out is as my food gets lower, since I burn at such a high rate because I don't get big in the off season.
Yeah.
Like I've said before, I've tried. I'm never any more than 12 to 15 pounds out of contest weight.
Yeah.
That's just my genetic structure. So what happens for us is when we start doing the cardio and the food comes down, we can nosedive real quick.
Hmm.
So we try to find a balance to where we're having more food now at this point in the prep than we did at the Olympia. So I
Hmm.
know that has a lot to do with it. And so what it's doing is my training is a lot more efficient because I'm having nutrients versus being depleted. A lot of the other guys may be in a depleted state right now because they're trying to tighten up. Well, we're actually just kind of staying even kill across the board with the food, and that's helping me keep the size and the fullness. And on a frame like mine,
Hmm.
being full and flat can actually make me look 5 pounds bigger or smaller.
Yeah.
And at the Olympia, we weren't full like at all. I mean, Chris could tell
Hmm.
you that we were flat as we could be. I mean, we didn't have a lot of food, and
Wow.
once again, a learning experience. So,
Yeah. I mean, let's think about this. You won the California Pro. What was that, the end of May last year?
at the end of May,
So you didn't have much break between then and when you had to start your Olympia prep.
no,
And then Olympia was like around third week of September.
mm-hmm.
So then you had maybe October, November. You really only had about 2 months, 3 months since last May that you haven't been in full prep mode, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's funny because someone actually commented and said, "Oh, it's no way he can progress that quick."
Right.
Well, guys have to go back and scale my progression from when I first got onto the professional scene from USA's. You
Yeah.
saw me at USA's. I had a lot of weak points,
Yeah.
and I'm still only really a few years into this. So what's happening is, um, I was growing with no food. So we were actually training for prep for the Olympia. We were on very, very low carbs for a long time,
Mm.
just trying to get conditioned. Once again, a learning curve. And
Yeah.
so what happened with this prep, even though it was shorter, we were able to cram more food into that short amount of time. So my body actually made use of it because it was so used to being efficient with in a depleted state that when it actually did get some food, oh man, this is great. And so my body just responded. So I was actually able to grow into this show. So that's why, I'm actually bigger than I was in such a short time.
I mean, the progress pics that you take, they're obviously flat, early morning, no
Uh huh.
no carbs, no pump. But
No.
man, some of those locker room pictures you put up, you look like you're about to burst, with the shoulder and the giant arm, freaking
Yeah.
veins everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
condition wise, I don't think anybody could be concerned about your condition because, like I said, you were one of the most conditioned guys on that Mr. Olympia stage back in September.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you're looking in the last set of pictures I've seen that have taken over the past few days, you're right on track to be in that condition or better for the
Yeah.
Arnold Classic for sure.
I think it'll be better for sure because now this time with having that fullness and figuring out that one little tweak, it'll actually give my muscles a chance to push against the skin. That will
Mm.
actually give me the conditioned look that I actually am working for, and that's what I try to tell a lot of guys is I'm a former athlete. So for me, I tell Chris no. If he says do it, I do it. There's not a question. If he says 2 hours of cardio, I'm doing 2 hours. If he says 3 hours, I'm doing 3 hours. I'm not going to shy away from it. So for
Yeah.
me to get in shape, that's second nature. I mean, that's not a big deal.
Right. So I mean, you're not intimidated by anybody. You were ready to stand next to the Mr. Olympia stage. That's theoretically everybody, all the best guys in the world. And
Uh huh.
man, what a lineup! This Arnold Classic is nuts.
Yeah.
This is the best Arnold Classic. I'm psyched because I've been going to that show for many, many years. And wow, Bonac, Rami, Cedric, Nathan, Victor, Dexter, Kuklo, Sergio, Josh. Whew, dude, I mean, I know you're not intimidated, but you have to be excited that you're up against. This is like I don't want to say it's better than the Mr. Olympia lineup was, but man, this is right there with the last Olympia for sure.
Yeah, it's super exciting. I have always been, a big advocate that you if you want to be the best, you have to beat the best.
Mhm.
And these guys are guys that I've seen while I was an amateur. And in just this short amount of time, I'm able to go and stand on stage with them. And
Mhm.
it's like when I did nationals and I got last place or dead, almost dead last 2 times.
Yeah.
I have to go and see it. And so with this Olympia, same thing in my rookie year. I was 13th at New York Pro, and I wasn't intimidated then, but I knew that on that stage, New York Pro, third hardest show at the professional level,
Yeah.
there's going to be some heavy hitters. I don't care. I need that. I have to see it so I know, like, hey, this is where it's at. And with this Arnold lineup, not only is it a tough lineup, but it's a 1 day show.
Yeah.
And, like Phil told me when I talked to him, he said, well, you can expect these guys to be better also because they're only having to compete for 1 day. This is
Mm.
not a 2 day show. So all these guys, I mean, for me, they're benchmarks. Like every name that I'm able to take down, it just moves my ranking up. So
Yeah.
I can't hope to be the best at something if I'm not going head up with these guys. I said it when I turned professional. I will always go after the biggest guys
Mm.
because there's no reward in playing small.
Right.
If I pick to do the easier shows, so when I saw the lineup, I was like, oh yeah, this is where it's at, and I can be confident to run because I tell people all the time, for me, the victory is in I beat my last package. I've already done that,
Yeah.
so it's not determined on. I'm doing the work and I'm bringing the physique, and I'm gonna go step in front of judges that they're gonna place me where they want to place me.
Yeah.
My victory is not dependent on that because then I lose sight of what I'm actually doing. So
Right.
the fact that I'm improved and I'm better, and I placed 10th at the Olympia, that gives me a lot of motivation. Even in my own training now, going into this show, that I think I can hang with these guys because mentally I'm ready. I'm prepared for it. I'm not like, oh my God, there's Big Ramy. Oh my God, there's William Bonac.
Yeah.
These guys are amazing champions. They're amazing athletes. They've all won shows. They've all placed high.
Yeah.
So I have to be in a mental state to say, yeah. When someone asks me, what place what do you think your placing is going to get? What are you going for?
Hmm.
First.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Because I
Yeah.
have to train for that. I
Right.
have to train to beat all these guys. Not, oh, I hope for fifth or sixth, or I hope because if I start getting in that mental state, then
Yeah.
that's exactly how I'm gonna train.
Right.
So when people or someone said, "Oh, I'm cocky," because I posted and I said, "Oh, it's almost time to look the lion in the face."
Yeah.
Well, the lion I was referring to is the challenge of winning.
Right.
I don't think that the last place guy can be cocky. you know, uh,
Yeah.
I'm earning my confidence. I can say that because every time I'm improving, and I get a nod from the judges or analysts or whoever are watching the sport, then yeah, that does boost my confidence some. But I'm never going to be the guy that says I'm better than everybody. But I
Right.
am going to attempt to beat everyone. Why else would I do the sport? You know?
It's I say this all the time because people get it. Sometimes people will say, "Well, that guy's cocky because he says he's training for first place." But like you said, if you're training and in your head, oh, I'm probably going to be seventh, eighth, or ninth,
Yeah,
that's going to hold you back. You're not going to train as hard. You're not going to do your cardio as hard. You're not going to diet as hard because in the back of your mind, it's always, "Why bother? I'm not going to. There's no way I can win. I can't be top three. Why should I
e-
even try that hard if it's not?
exactly.
There's no way I can be rewarded for it." So yeah,
And
you have to.
that's how guys think. And it goes as simple as even being in the gym. It kills me when I go into the gym and I hear guys come and tell me, oh, I just can't grow my legs. I
Mm.
just can't grow my back. I just can't. You can't because you're telling yourself you can't. So every
That's
time
right.
you come in the gym, I'm not going to squat heavy because I can't squat heavy. There's too much can't.
Right.
So, this sport, us athletes, we have to go on, if you're smart, you have to go on with the mind state that I can. I can beat everybody. I'm training to beat everyone. And so you can actually do your job. But if you're going to be timid, we're not timid when we come in this gym and train every day. We
Right.
go after these weights with a certain type of controlled aggression. So you channel that energy and you go after the competition in the same fashion. But those guys, like I said before, those guys are all my brothers, man. I respect them. They've done all have done stuff that I'm hoping to do. And so sometimes you got to fight with your big brothers. You know, you're gonna be cool with them after it's over with, but
Yeah.
you got to butt heads, and so it's exciting. I'm excited.
You know, because I was watching your interview that we did shortly after the Olympia, and one thing that struck me was one of the only things you were disappointed about the Olympia and your appearance there was that you didn't get a chance to stand next to some of the guys you really wanted to. You know,
Hmm.
you wanted to be compared to Dexter, and not saying because I'm better than Dexter, but it says it gives you an idea of where you stand next to the best in the world and what
Yeah,
do I need to do to get to that level. So
but
I think I really hope that happens for you at this show. I hope you get call outs with Dexter, with Bonac, with Rami, with Cedric, these guys, because you deserve to be in that mix, in my opinion.
yeah, because that's good for it's good for me. It's good for the sport. People want to see that. Like, well, how does it? Patrick's getting all this hype. Well, let's
Right,
see how he stacks up against these guys. And I
right.
just want that opportunity, like you said. So when I go back and I look at pictures, man, that shit, he got crazy symmetry, crazy conditioning. Damn, I thought my conditioning was good, and I stood next to him. Yeah, I got to work on that. So
Yeah.
and that's how you get better. But I have to have the opportunity first. So that was my biggest disappointment that I didn't get to mix it up, with those guys.
Now we've talked before that you're a friend of Phil Heath's. Phil has been sort of a mentor to you,
Hmm.
and anyone who follows you on social media or follows Phil. So now we're talking about a few million people total. Probably already know you headed up to Colorado a couple weeks ago, January. I guess it was like 18th to 23rd.
Uh huh.
You got to spend 5 days up there in the Denver area, training with Phil. So how did that even come about? When did Phil first start talking to you about coming up there to train with him?
So we going into Olympia Prep, actually back in the California Pro Prep, because he's always in my corner,
Yeah.
and we talk often. We text, he's always giving me suggestions, or he'll bounce ideas off me and say, hey, you should try this, this, that, and the other, and then we talk about sports cars and all kind of stuff. So after going into Olympia, he was like, hey, this is your first one, you got to get through this one. It's a big stage, and he was like, so once you're done with that, then we'll talk. We'll see where kind of what you want to do next, and what's the next plan. And
Mhm.
so once we got the okay for the Arnold, this was around December. I told him, I said, hey, well, man, I'm gonna do the Arnold because this is what I wanted to do before the Olympia. Now the opportunity's here. I want to go ahead. I want to go ahead and go for that.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, well, you know what? I tell you what, once you get closer, let me look at my schedule,
Hmm.
and you can come up and you can, we'll get some training in. Well, I'll get a chance to look at you because what I like about him.
Hmm.
He, even though we're very close, he will always keep it 100% straight up.
Hmm.
And when we talked and I was there, he was like, you need to work on this, that, this, and the other. He said,
Hmm.
and that's me being critical. I talked to him last night. I sent, he saw a couple pictures and he said, yeah, this is good, that's good. You need this, that, and the other, and that'll come. And he would always tell me, you'll be okay. But I'm just telling you, and I'm being extra critical because
Right.
I want to see you do well. So he looked at the schedule and he said, I'll tell you what, around about middle of January, why don't you see if you can make it out and we'll get some training done. You'll be about 5, 6 weeks out. We can kind of see what you're looking like. And I would have went earlier. Like I said, my schedule is crazy. My wife, she has a new job, therapist and stuff. So it's hard to kind of arrange travel right now.
Yeah.
So I ended up having to make that trip solo.
Hmm.
And so I went up there and it was all business. I mean, I learned a lot that I did not know in a very short time.
Hmm.
And so I came back home, and some of my buddies in the gym were like, "Man, you look different." And so there was some stuff I learned while I was there, and it was very basic, simple stuff.
Hmm.
A lot of stuff evolving, even around the cardio and the amount that I was doing, the intensity. Some stuff with nutrition, like little tips and stuff that when you're his body type, similar to mine in the fashion that when he first started, he was not huge.
Right.
He was always on a little bit of leaner side. And
Yeah.
so he said, well, since we have these similarities, why don't you give this a try? And those tips I brought back home with me, and they've been very beneficial.
Hmm.
Chris is pretty happy with what he's seeing. I'm definitely happy. So it was one of those things, man, where just like it's kind of like a recharge, kind of
Right.
in the middle of the prep.
Hmm. Well, we'll talk more about those changes after the Arnold. I don't want to give your secrets away right now to
Yeah.
your competition. We'll talk later about all that. But I mean, that's so many guys dream of that. Wow, I wish I could hang out with Mr. Olympia and train with Mr. Olympia. Um, what do you think people? What's the thing do you think Phil is most misunderstood about? What do you think most people assume wrongly about Phil that's just not true?
Um, it's funny, Ron. Exactly the same thing that's happening with me right now.
Hmm.
Um, he's a former athlete, and he's when he was doing the sport. I remember in 2011 or 2010, whenever you should have won the Arnold. You should, you heard all that chatter. He looked
Yeah.
great. He looked crazy. And then, of course, in 2010, he played second to Jay, and was like, man, you look great, and everyone was all pro him,
I
right?
had him winning both those. I was there at both shows. I had him winning both of those. So yeah.
Yeah, that's what everyone's. And so, of course, when he was going into the Olympia in 2011, he had that confidence. He exuded that confidence that I'm going after this title. I want to win it. And he even said in a couple of interviews, much respect to Dexter and Jay and all these guys, but I want that title.
Right.
And everyone was all cool with it. And then I don't know whether it was around the third or fourth Olympia, maybe around the release of the Generation Iron movie. People
Yeah.
started saying those exacts. He's cocky. He's arrogant. He's this. He's that. He doesn't respond to fans. He doesn't. And it's funny because, when I used to see that, I would say, man, he doesn't respond a whole lot. And now he's more active. But then from the outside looking in, you don't really understand that
Yeah.
until I started having the exact same experience. And I have not even done any of the things that he's done yet.
Yeah.
And everyone's, he's cocky. Patrick's cocky. He's this. He needs to be humble. Oh, he doesn't. Once someone told me I needed to comment back to them. If he said, the person, their exact words, if you want to be popular, you need to comment back to your fans.
Even when they're talking shit to you.
Exactly. So now I can see how an athlete, if you can't keep those two in balance, where you'll just say, "Well, forget all that. I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna do my job." And you'll hear little snippets where Phil was like, "I don't really care what anyone says, whether it's positive or negative. I don't really care."
Right.
Because eventually you can get pushed to that point. And so when people start only wanting to see the negative, which is what I think that they did, then it becomes, now he's a villain. But man, he's cool. I mean, this dude literally, he we're different camps. Like
Yeah.
he works with Honey, I'm over here with Chris.
Right.
We could be potential competition if he decides to come back. And
Mm.
here he is telling me stuff that makes me better. And with doesn't expect any in return. I don't post him and tag him like crazy, like, oh, I don't do that. And he doesn't
Even
expect
if you
that.
did, he's got like 5 million followers. I don't think
Yeah.
he needs like
He
another. You know.
at all. And he's just giving back. And I think with social media, man, and that being the only access people may have to him, and even some of us other athletes, they take what they want to see, and then they run with it. Like I said, I posted a comment about looking a lion in the face. Someone said I need to be cocky, and I don't need to be cocky. I need to be humble.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? And so eventually, man, people they see what they want, and unfortunately now they're starting to see, because they see him interacting more. They see him doing other things outside of bodybuilding, and now that he's helping me, or people will see that, they're like, "Man, that's pretty cool. Look at this dude is kind of giving back where we thought he was an asshole." You know, so
That movie, Generation Iron movie, that did him dirty. The way it was
yeah,
edited, the way it was scripted. He was playing a character. That was because I didn't really get to know him very well until a couple years, a couple years, 3, 4 years after that. I said, man, this Phil's not like this at all. Like, well, but nothing you can do about it now. It's in the history books, that movie. But
yeah,
I think it really screwed him over as far as portraying him as this jerk, this villain, this
yeah,
arrogant bastard, and everyone's like, but
yeah.
whatever. But it's funny because confidence, it threatens a lot of people because most people don't have confidence.
Uh huh.
So
Yeah.
when they see anybody that is confident in themselves, it threatens them and it upsets them because it makes them feel, it points to their own lack. So they'll say, "Oh, that guy's a jerk. He's full of himself. He thinks he's so great." So yeah, I mean, I always take that stuff with a grain of salt for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, Now, if you're a gambling man, Patrick Moore, if you had to place a bet, would you say Phil's doing the Olympia or not? I know Phil hasn't even decided, but what do you think's going to happen?
If I'm at the if I'm at the roulette table,
Yes.
I'm gonna go. If we got red and black, right? Red and black, and then we're
Sure.
splitting. We got 3 sections of numbers.
Okay.
And reds he's doing the show, black he's not.
Okay.
I have $100 to spend. I know this is a lot of math here.
Man, you're making this very complicated. Go ahead.
So I'm gonna put $50 on, $60 on the red,
Okay.
$20 on the black,
Okay.
and then I'll split the rest across the board. And the reason I use that analogy, um, is from our conversation, I feel he wants to do the show, um, but now that he has all this other things going on, business, he has a lot of business stuff going on. When I was there, I was like, geez, man, I don't even know how you function, dude. Your phone, this stuff you have going on. And he's like, it's opportunities, man. I have to do this. I have to do that. These are things I'm setting myself up, for after the sport.
Right.
And so the final thing he left me with was, if everything else he has going on pans out, then it's a very, very strong possibility. And so it's going to be, I think, contingent upon that, whether
Yeah.
everything else, because he weren't able to compete last year because his wife was sick.
Right.
She was going through some health stuff, and he had a lot of things going on. He had surgery before that. So, man, if I put myself in his shoes, I would have that mentality, because after 2018, and he took that loss. Uh, you're only going to come back if you can. It's not even a win or lose. It's
Yeah.
can I be 100%
Right.
and give this sport 100% if it's my last time?
Right.
And so that's what we talked about when we were there. Because I told him, I said, dude, I want you to come back because I want to stand next to one of the
Yeah.
best.
Of course.
That's just where I'm at with it. And he said, well, I have to make sure my body can do this, and you got to respect it, because no one's going to come back at 70%, 80%. That's not smart. So,
Yeah.
I think he's making a very conscious decision, based on the rest of his life, because you competed. Everything else in your life has to be in line for you to give yourself to a prep. And
Right.
at this level, when it's for money and legacy, there's no room for error.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wouldn't want him to do it. I think he wants to do it. It
Mm.
just depends on everything else in his life, business wise, panning out.
When you won his show, the Phil Heath Classic back in 2014,
Mm-hmm.
did you at that point did you say, I'd love to stand next to this guy on stage one day? How awesome would that be?
Yeah, when I saw him backstage, and I said that's what I want to be, the best in the world.
Mm.
And so then, in my own juvenile mindset, when we were backstage and we took a picture, I was like, man, I think I could stand next to him.
Well, I mean,
Yo, okay.
well, you're not that far off from doing it right now if
Yeah,
he does
but
if he
I
does
can
the
tell
show.
you what's crazy though, Ron, is when I was an amateur, man. Even just the thought of making it to the Olympia stage, it was so overwhelming. It
Mm.
was, how can you get to that? I mean, there's so many athletes. You could be. What if you're off? There's so many variables that were in my mind, right?
Right.
Um, and I think after that show, um, I had to take the mentality that I'm gonna be the best in the world.
Mm.
And I took that and I ran with that, and that gave me the confidence to say, one day I will stand next to Phil. One day I will. Granted that he's here, but I had to decide that I wanted that, so then everything else could get out of my way.
Yeah.
Because if not, it was like, I'm not big enough. I'm not experienced enough. I don't. There was all these things, the reasons why I can't. But
Right.
the only one that mattered was, well, you can if you want to. And
Yeah.
so once I decided I want to, man, it's crazy, because I mean, look where I'm at now.
Right.
And even that's why I think too those losses didn't bother me, because I was realistic in my expectations. Like, hey, this is where you're at, and this is where you want to be. You can't control anything in between point A and B. You just
Yeah.
deal with whatever comes, but don't get discouraged. And I kept that mindset, and so that's why, whether it's 10th place at the Olympia, if it was 15th place at the Olympia, I don't really care, because I'm just going to keep coming back. And when you have that mindset, it makes it easy to give it 100%. This sport is big time mental.
Yeah.
It's a lot of mental pressure, and I think I put more pressure on myself, than anyone else can.
I absolutely believe that because, obviously there are some of you that are more genetically gifted than others,
Mm-hmm.
but at your level, what it really comes down to is who's going to be mentally stronger and more consistent and believe in
Yeah.
themselves more, because it's so easy to get discouraged or get bitter, or there's all kinds of negative emotions that you can go through that will will keep you away from further success. And
Yeah.
that you could have been that guy. You could have been that guy the first time you went to nationals and got your ass kicked. You said, "Ah, screw this.
Yeah.
Ah, this is bullshit," you know. But
Yeah.
you did. And
Mm-mm.
or 13th at your
Like,
first pro show, you could have said, "Screw this. I'm going back to Houston. Forget about this
yeah.
stuff."
Yeah, man. My wife will tell you, like, we didn't let it bother us because those times I lost like that, she saw the work I was put in, so she was hurt by it too. But
Mm,
you, I had to keep a positive attitude, like, we might as well get over this because if I'm going to keep doing it, and I'm going to keep doing it, so get over that loss
yeah,
and get out of your own way. Like, no one has there's no straightaway path to victory.
right.
So it's I could never. I don't think I could be doing anything else. I think mentally, genetically, physically, I was made for the sport, and I think that having the right people around me, which I do, telling me the right things, and I have a strong enough mind to block out the negative because I choose to process what information I want. So whenever I see stuff on social media, the negativity, no, I don't really care because I see it and like you said, it's a grain of salt, like
Yeah.
whatever. But the positive, I take all that in because sometimes you have to prove to people that believe in you right,
Mm,
instead of focusing on I'm going to prove this person wrong. I don't need an antagonist to do this job. It's almost self motivated.
yeah. I mean, the battle is with yourself as it is.
100%.
You don't need
Yeah.
to fight anybody else. You're
No.
fighting yourself every minute of every day.
Yes,
Really.
sir.
When you
Exactly.
think about it. I want to, before I forget, I want to let people know you will be guest posing at the Phil Heath Classic in Houston, April 25th. So all you people in that area of Texas, check them out. Are you doing Arnold Australia too, or no?
I sure am.
Oh, okay, great,
Yeah.
cool,
So
good,
we
good news,
well,
Aussies.
yeah, I'll get to come home, and I'm really looking forward to going out there. It's a lot of amazing fans out there in Australia, and so they're sending positive vibes for the first one in Ohio, and then they're like, someone like save some for Australia. We don't want the rundown version of Patrick. Make sure
I
you have some energy. But
mean, is
they're
this
super
have you ever
positive.
been? Is that your first? This will be your first trip to
This will be my
Australia?
first trip. Yeah,
Wow,
I've never
wow,
been.
me
So I'm
neither.
looking
But
forward. I heard Tony Doherty puts on a first class event.
yeah,
So I'm really looking forward to going out there and spending. I'll be there for about 7 or 8 days. I'm
wow,
gonna aim to get there on Monday because
yeah,
I'll lose the time going there, and I actually want to settle in and for at least be able to experience at least maybe some sightseeing, something relaxing.
yeah.
Those last few days of prep.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, Tony's a great promoter, takes great care of the athletes. But what I've heard from every athlete for years and years, the Australian fans, they're just so much more appreciative, enthusiastic,
Hmm.
because in America we're spoiled. We have a ton of pro shows here. We
Yeah.
can see the pros all pretty much anytime we want. But they don't have that opportunity. So when you guys, especially when top American pros come over, they treat you guys like rock stars because they're just so glad that you came over to be there. So
Yeah.
you're gonna have a great time. Cool.
I'm excited.
Well, I would tell everyone to check out your Instagram, Patrick T. Moore, for progress pics. But sorry, but he's got plenty of pictures from the last few weeks that look pretty great. You can check
Yeah.
those out. Man, I'm excited to see how you do. I'm excited because I know I could tell you're already better than you were at the Olympia,
Yeah.
and condition. I know. You're one of those guys. I'm never gonna worry. Like Cedric, I'm like, oh, is he gonna be in shape? I hope he's in
Yeah.
shape. You're going to be in
It.
shape. I don't have to worry about that. And
Yeah. You're.
everybody should be like that. Everybody should be in
Yeah.
shape.
This is it's it's a that's my craft. I can't afford. Hell, I wouldn't show up to a guest posing out of shape. That's just how OCD I am and obsessed with winning. Like I'm literally obsessed with winning. It's all I think about. I get them in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening time. That I think about it in my brain. So what happens is when I get a victory, it's kind of like I'm super excited, but then at the same time I'm like, okay, what's next? Because for me it's been up here the whole time. It's I just it's there. I said it and I put it out there. So now I just have to put the work in to actually go and get it. And if a lot of athletes think like that, a lot of people, then they give 100% to what they're in. Like we talked about, if you had that confidence, I have to prove myself right. I have something to prove to myself
Mm,
that I could do this. What I set out to do 6 years ago.
right. Cool. Well, I won't see you until Columbus, so it's going to be a little while. But man, I'm really looking forward to it. I think you're gonna. again surprise a lot of people
Yes,
because
sir.
every Patrick Moore we see is better than the last Patrick
Better than
Moore
the
we see,
last. Yeah.
and that's rare because like not to throw anybody under the bus, but most of these guys that I talked about earlier, they're maxed out. They've reached their full potential.
Yeah.
I don't see bigger. I don't see body parts getting better. I don't see overall mass getting better. They're done. Stick a fork in them. Not to
Yeah.
say that they're not incredible athletes. They are.
Oh
These
yeah.
guys are
100.
great. But
Absolutely.
it's exciting to see someone who is getting better and better and better
Yeah.
because it's something different every time. You know what I mean?
That's the
So,
plan, is to keep some bullets in the gun, so that way, like I said, I want to do this for 10 more years.
mm,
So if I can do that, if I gain 2 pounds a year, two
yeah,
pounds in the right, that by the time I'm done and I'm never on the stage again, I will be, 20 pounds heavier, muscle wise, lean tissue, than when people saw me for the first time because the Olympia was the first time a lot of people saw me. No one had saw me before. They didn't really, I was new, and the Olympia, everyone always told me that's the first time I ever saw you. Well, okay, great, because you came at a good time. Because if you would have saw me before, he
yeah,
probably would have wrote me off. So it's cool that they got that experience, and my hope is to keep improving every year until I have the final form of what I'm going to be, and at that time I'll say it's been great, and I'll move on to something else.
right on. Cool. That will be your final evolution, as they say in
Yes.
Pokemon.
Yep.
All right, man. Well, Patrick, thank you so much for the time and the updates and filling us in on the Phil Heath experience you had. All good stuff. Everybody, check this guy out at the Arnold Classic, Columbus, Ohio. By the time you see this, it'll be less than 4 weeks away. So time's going to go by quickly, everybody. As you know, time flies. So
Indeed.
thank you, Patrick. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Ron. I appreciate it, man. It's always a pleasure.
And just a reminder, viewers, that little bell thing, hit that so you know when we release new videos, then you'll be
Yeah,
better
subscribe.
informed.
Stop messing around. Subscribe.
Subscribe. Well, a lot of people are subscribed, but they haven't clicked the bell. So I'm telling them, click that
Oh
bell.
yeah,
Well,
yeah. You got to do the
but
double
do them
click.
both. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do both. Cool. All right, man. Thanks, everybody, for watching Ronline Report with this man, Patrick, the future more. We'll see you next time.